Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. The first clue wasn't a smudged lipstick mark or a hushed phone call in the dead of night. It was something far more mundane, and because of that, far more insidious. On a biting February morning in Minneapolis, Ethan Harper stood at the threshold of his front door, wrestling with his heavy winter boots. His breath clouded in the frosty air, and the world outside sparkled under a fresh layer of snow. He zipped up his parka and shouted up the stairs, "Lila, I'm off to get the tires changed. Need anything?" A faint "Nope, I'm set, hon," drifted down. Ethan's lips curved into a small smile. 8 years of marriage, 3 kids, a snug home in a quiet suburb. They were the couple everyone admired. Ethan adored Lila, had fought for her, had built their life piece by piece. He pressed his fingers to his lips and sent a kiss skyward before stepping into the cold. The car, a charcoal gray Toyota Highlander, Lila's pride and joy, was already idling, its engine purring softly. Ethan slid into the driver's seat, chuckling at the seat warmer cranked to max. She always forgot to dial it back. Changing tires wasn't thrilling work, but Ethan found comfort in these small acts of care. They tethered him to Lila, to their shared life. By the time he returned from the shop, Lila was ready to leave, her auburn hair cascading over her scarf. "Heading to the mall," she said brightly, slinging her bag over her shoulder. "Want anything?" Ethan shook his head, watching her glide out the door like a wisp of vapor. "Don't break the bank," he teased. Her laugh was light, her kiss on his cheek fleeting, almost distracted. The house felt hollow once she was gone, but Ethan brushed it off. He trusted her. Sprawling on the couch, he flicked on a hockey game, savoring the rare quiet. Yet something nagged at him. Later, thinking he'd left his gloves in her car, he went to check. As he opened the Highlander's door, a chill unrelated to the weather prickled his skin. The passenger seat warmer was on, recently adjusted, and the seat itself was slid back, far back, as if accommodating long legs. Ethan's gut twisted. Lila, petite and always alone when she drove, never touched the passenger settings. His hand lingered on the door, his mind racing through possibilities, none of them benign. "Breathe," he told himself. "Don't overthink it." He returned inside, gloves forgotten. Lila stood at the counter, humming as she sliced apples. "Hey," he said, keeping his tone light despite the pulse hammering in his ears. "Did you meet someone today?" Her knife paused, a fraction of a second, barely noticeable, but Ethan saw it. "No," she said too quickly. "Why?" "Just curious," he replied, forcing a laugh. "Thought maybe you ran into a friend." "Nope, just me," she said, her voice overly cheerful. Ethan nodded, kissed her forehead, and muttered something about sorting tools in the garage. Down there, amid the scent of motor oil and cardboard boxes, he let the turmoil inside him surge. Was it happening? Was she happening? He couldn't shake the memories, his own past, a lifetime ago, before Lila, before redemption. In his mid-20s, Ethan had been married to Claire, a woman who loved him fiercely. Young, reckless, and selfish, he'd had an affair with a college friend. It was brief, thrilling, meaningless, and it shattered everything. Claire hadn't caught him through messages or rendezvous. It was the small things, his distant stares, missed dinners, unexplained irritability. She trusted him until she didn't. One night, she slid a folder across their table. Receipts, a photo, her eyes hollow. Their marriage ended without a sound. After that, Ethan fled, rebuilt himself, vowed never to wound anyone like that again. When he met Lila, he promised to be better. But now, staring at the garage's concrete wall, the signs felt eerily familiar, reflected back at him. This time, he wasn't the one straying. That evening, he studied Lila. Her quick glances at her phone, the way she jumped when he entered a room, the nervous edge to her laugh, it all screamed wrong. The next morning at breakfast, their kids, Nora, Milo, and Evie, babbled about school and waffles. Ethan sipped his coffee, watching Lila's face. Her smiles were too wide, her laughter too loud. When their eyes met, something flickered in hers, guarded, secretive. A cold certainty settled in him. He needed the truth. He owed it to himself, to the man he'd worked so hard to become. By Monday, Ethan was unraveling. At his desk in a mid-sized ad agency downtown, he stared blankly at a campaign brief, the words swimming. His colleagues laughed and chatted, but he was elsewhere, replaying Lila's hesitation, that too-warm passenger seat, her shifted demeanor. It gnawed at him like a splinter under his skin. At lunch, instead of joining the team for burgers, he slipped into a dim cafe, pulled out his phone, and searched for private investigators. His heart pounded. Am I really doing this? He thought of Nora's gap-toothed grin, Milo's sleepy hugs, Evie's tiny hand in his. If there was even a chance Lila was betraying him, he had to know. He tapped a contact, Grayson Investigations. His message was brief. Need to meet. Urgent. Discreet. A reply pinged back. 2 p.m. rear entrance. No names. Ethan exhaled, his palms slick. It was starting. At exactly 2 p.m., Ethan parked a block away from the unassuming brick building in a gritty corner of Minneapolis. The rear entrance, tucked beside a dumpster and a shuttered laundromat, was marked only by a rusted buzzer. His hands trembled as he pressed it. The door creaked open, revealing a stocky man in his late 40s, clad in a faded denim jacket. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned Ethan like a barcode. "You Harper?" he asked, voice low. "Yeah," Ethan muttered, glancing over his shoulder. The alley was empty, but his nerves screamed otherwise. "Relax. No one's tailing you. Come in." The man stepped aside, and Ethan entered a cramped office that smelled of burnt coffee and mildew. A ceiling fan whirred lazily, shuffling papers on a scarred desk. "I'm Grayson," the man said, offering a firm handshake. "You want to tell me why you're here? Or should I guess?" Ethan's throat tightened. "My wife, Lila. I think something's going on. I need proof." Grayson nodded, as if the words were an old song he'd heard 1,000 times. "All right. First rule, you're not paranoid. Gut's usually right. People lie. Habits don't." He pulled out a notepad. "Give me the details." Ethan spilled everything. The mall trip, the passenger seat warmer, the slid-back seat, Lila's fleeting hesitation, her altered routines. He even confessed his own past, the affair that had gutted his first marriage, his dread that karma was circling back. Grayson scribbled occasionally, his face a mask. When Ethan finished, Grayson leaned back, chair creaking. "Here's the deal. Surveillance ain't cheap. I need a $5,000 retainer up front. 2 guys discreet. If she's stepping out, we'll catch it. If not, you sleep better. Either way, you win." Ethan hesitated for a heartbeat, then reached for his wallet. Some truths were worth the cost. He wrote the check, the pen heavy in his hand. That night, dinner was a performance. Lila chatted about her day at the marketing firm, her voice smooth as glass. Nora giggled at Milo's silly faces. Evie smeared mashed potatoes on her tray, and Ethan played the doting husband, nodding, smiling, passing the salt. But inside, he was unraveling. He watched Lila's fingers brush Evie's hair, her laugh crinkle her eyes, and thought, how long have you been pretending? 3 days later, Grayson called. "Got something. Meet me." Ethan's stomach lurched. He drove to the office in a haze, the city blurring past. Inside, Grayson fired up a laptop, the screen flickering to life. "Tuesday evening," he said, clicking play. The grainy footage showed Lila in a dimly lit bistro, the Anchor, a place they'd frequented early in their marriage. She sat in a corner booth, her smile radiant, across from a man Ethan recognized instantly. Ryan Kessler, her charismatic boss. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a grin that oozed confidence. The guy she'd always called just a mentor. In the video, they leaned close over untouched plates, their hands grazing as they shared a laugh. Ryan reached out, tucking a strand of Lila's hair behind her ear. She blushed, her eyes lingering on his. Ethan's fists clenched, nails biting into his palms. "We got more," Grayson said, voice neutral. "Text call logs. Want me to dig deeper?" Ethan's chest felt hollow. "No," he rasped. "That's enough." But it wasn't. Betrayal wasn't one clean wound. It was a swarm of stings, each one sharper than the last. He drove home, the video replaying in his mind, Lila's flush, Ryan's touch. By the time he pulled into the driveway, a plan was forming. Something cold, calculated, unstoppable. The next morning, Ethan packed the kids' lunches, ironed Lila's blouse, kissed her goodbye as she left for work. He smiled, the perfect husband. Inside, he was a storm. He wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. He needed something bigger, something that would hit her where it hurt. If Lila thought she could play him, she was about to learn how wrong she was. That evening, after tucking the kids into bed, Ethan sat in the den, the house silent except for the hum of the fridge. He opened his laptop, heart pounding, and created a burner email, j.davis.consulting@gmail.com. Then he drafted a message, each word a carefully laid trap. Subject: Exclusive career opportunity. Dear Lila, your exceptional work at Horizon Marketing has caught our attention. We're a boutique firm expanding into Minneapolis and would like to offer you a confidential interview for a senior strategist role. Discretion is paramount. Please reply if interested. He attached a forged LinkedIn profile for James Davis, complete with a polished headshot, endorsements, and a sleek website he'd mocked up in an hour. He hit send, leaned back, and exhaled. The bait was set. The next night, Lila stood at the stove, stirring pasta sauce, her phone buzzing on the counter. Ethan watched from the table, pretending to read a magazine. Her eyes flicked to the screen, a smile tugging at her lips. She didn't mention the email, but Ethan saw the spark in her expression. He had her. Meanwhile, Grayson's updates kept coming. More photos. Lila and Ryan at a coffee shop, their knees touching under the table. More footage. Them leaving a downtown hotel, 10 minutes apart, no bags in sight. Ethan didn't need to see inside the rooms to know. Each image was a blade, carving away the life he thought he had. Lila was his wife in name only now, and Ryan was about to regret ever crossing him. By Friday, Lila was buzzing with excitement. Over breakfast, she waved a printed email at Ethan. "You won't believe this," she said, eyes bright. "I got a job offer. Senior strategist, double my salary. It's out of nowhere, but they've been tracking my work." Ethan raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. "That's amazing, babe. You deserve it." His voice was warm, but his mind was ice. She beamed, tucking the email into her purse. The trap was tightening. Ethan moved through the week like a man possessed, every action deliberate, every smile a mask. He helped Nora with her spelling homework, braided Evie's hair, cheered Milo on at soccer practice, all while the storm inside him grew. Lila, oblivious, floated through their home, her laughter brighter, her touches softer, as if guilt had polished her affection to a deceptive shine. Ethan saw it for what it was, a performance, and he was done being her audience. On Saturday, he announced a surprise. "I booked us a getaway for our anniversary," he said, casual over coffee. "Just us, a cabin up in Duluth. Lake views, hot tub, the works. Time to reconnect." Lila's eyes lit up, and she threw her arms around him. "That sounds perfect," she gushed. Ethan smiled, but his mind was elsewhere. She didn't know Grayson's team was already in place. Hidden cameras, microphones, a GPS tracker slipped into her car. This wasn't just a romantic escape. It was a stage, and Ethan was directing the final act. He'd seen the text from Lila's burner phone, cloned by Grayson's tech guy days earlier. "He's clueless. I'll slip out after he's asleep. Meet me at the Northwood Inn, 9:30. The words, sent to Ryan Kessler, burned into Ethan's memory. Every lie, every betrayal fueled his resolve. He wasn't just going to catch her. He was going to unravel her world without ever raising his voice. They drove to the cabin on Friday afternoon. The Minnesota landscape streaked with the fiery hues of a late winter sunset. Lila was chatty, reminiscing about their early days, her hand resting on Ethan's thigh. He played along, laughing at her stories, squeezing her hand, pouring her wine when they arrived. The cabin was stunning, polished wood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, a stone fireplace crackling. Lila sighed, sinking into the plush sofa. "This is heaven," she murmured, kissing his neck. Ethan smiled, but his thoughts were cold. Guilt, he realized, was a powerful drug. Around 8 p.m., Lila's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her smile flickering, then set it face down. Ethan pretended not to notice, refilling her glass. By 9, she yawned dramatically, stretching like a cat. Long drive, she said, faking a sleepy smile. Mind if I turn early? Go for it, Ethan said warmly. Get some rest. She kissed him, lingering just long enough to seem sincere, then vanished into the bedroom. Ethan waited, sipping whiskey by the fire. 6 minutes later, he heard the faint click of the back door. Through the upstairs window, he watched her car's taillights slice through the dark as she drove off, thinking herself clever. He leaned back in the leather armchair, the whiskey burning his throat. Outside, Grayson's team trailed her, their van a shadow in the night. Inside, the cabin's cameras recorded every empty moment, every lie laid bare. Tonight, Lila thought she was stealing a thrill, but when she returned, Ethan would be gone, and so would the life she took for granted. The plan was meticulous. Ethan had already packed a duffel bag, hidden in the trunk of his rental car, parked a half-mile away. He'd transferred funds to a private account, consulted a lawyer, and reviewed the prenup Lila had signed years ago. The cabin was leased in his name. The house, bought before their marriage, was his alone. She'd leave with her car, her clothes, and limited visitation rights. Ethan wasn't cruel. He'd ensure the kids were cared for, but Lila's betrayal had severed her claim to their life. He waited, the grandfather clock ticking in the corner. At 1:17 a.m., the front door creaked open. Lila slipped inside, heels dangling from one hand, hair mussed, coat clutched tight. Her lipstick was smudged, her perfume sharp in the still air. She tiptoed, assuming Ethan was asleep, her secret safe. She didn't see him in the darkened living room, silhouetted against the dying fire. Nice drive. Ethan's voice cut through the silence, low and sharp. Lila froze, her purse slipping to the floor with a soft thud. Her head snapped toward him, eyes wide, mouth working soundlessly. I couldn't sleep, she stammered. Went for a drive to clear my head. Ethan stood, crossing the room slowly, his phone glowing in his hand. He tilted the screen toward her. The video played. Lila pulling into the Northwood Inn's lot. Lila knocking on motel door. Ryan Kessler waiting inside, his arm pulling her in. You look real relaxed for someone clearing their head, Ethan said, his tone ablaze. Lila's face crumpled. Ethan, please, she whispered, tears spilling. It's not what you think. It never is, he snapped. How many times, Lila? First? Fifth? Did you even keep track? She sank to her knees, sobbing. It was a mistake, she gasped. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. Ethan laughed, the sound brittle. Nothing? You threw away 8 years, 3 kids, us, for nothing. She crawled toward him, desperate. I was lonely, Ethan. You're always working, distant. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Her voice broke. Please, don't leave. I'll end it. I'll quit my job, go to counseling, anything. Don't destroy our family. He stared down at her, the woman he'd loved, trusted, built a life with. The woman who traded it all for cheap motel sheets. He crouched, lifting her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. You don't get to break us and keep us, he said, his voice ice. Then he stood, dropping an envelope onto the coffee table. I knew 3 weeks ago. The seat warmer, your lies about the mall, the late nights. I watched you sneak around. I saw the lingerie you hid in your closet. Lila's sobs grew frantic, her face ashen. Ethan continued, relentless. This envelope, motel footage, your burner phone texts, bank records of your secret withdrawals. I've got everything. The house. Mine. The prenup. Ironclad. You'll get your car, your clothes, and supervised visits with the kids. Her lips trembled. Ethan, no, please. You made your choice, he said, stepping toward the door. Oh, and Ryan? He's done. Anonymous tips hit HR yesterday. He's under investigation for misconduct. He paused, a cold smile flickering. Good luck with him. Lila collapsed, her cries muffled by the rug. Ethan didn't look back. He walked into the freezing night, the stars sharp above, his breath a white plume. For the first time in weeks, he felt alive. Ethan didn't check into a motel or call a friend to vent. He drove the 2 hours back to Minneapolis in silence, the highway stretching dark and endless before him. By 4 a.m., he sat in a 24-hour diner on the city's edge, nursing a cup of black coffee that tasted like ash. The life he'd known, 8 years of love, laughter, and promises, was gone, reduced to a pile of motel receipts and burner phone texts. But beneath the wreckage, something stirred, a faint pulse of freedom. He wasn't the broken man he'd been after his first marriage. This time, he'd fought for the truth, and he'd won. By Monday, whispers slithered through Horizon Marketing's sleek offices. Not about Lila's phantom promotion, but about Ryan Kessler. Someone, Ethan didn't need to guess who, had leaked the Northwooden footage to HR, along with screenshots of Ryan's flirty texts to multiple colleagues. When HR called Lila in for questioning, she cracked like thin ice, admitting to the inappropriate relationship. Ryan was sacked on the spot, his golden boy charm no match for the paper trail. Lila was suspended indefinitely, her career dangling by a thread. At home, Ethan moved with quiet precision. While Lila barricaded herself in the master bedroom, her sobs seeping through the walls, he packed his essentials into boxes. Clothes, books, a few photos of the kids, nothing that carried her scent or shadow. He ignored her calls, her texts, her pleas scrawled on sticky notes left on the fridge. "I'm sorry. I'll fix this. Please talk to me." He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't even sad. He was done. The divorce papers arrived on Wednesday, delivered by a courier while Lila was out. Ethan had been surgical. The prenup held firm, the house was his, and custody favored him heavily, with Lila granted supervised visits until she stabilized. She signed the papers without a fight, her signature shaky, as if she knew resistance was futile. Ethan didn't gloat. He didn't need to. Justice wasn't loud. It was the soft click of a pen sealing her fate. He moved into a small apartment across town, a corner unit with high windows and pale wood floors. It was sparse but bright, a blank slate. On weekends, he picked up Nora, Milo, and Evie, filling their days with park picnics, arcade games, and bedtime stories. He kept their world steady, shielding them from the chaos Lila had sown. "Where's Mommy?" Evie asked once, her tiny brow furrowed. Ethan kissed her forehead. "She's figuring some things out, sweetheart. But I'm here, always." The kids didn't need to know the details. They deserved joy, and he'd bleed to give it to them. Weeks later, Grayson texted, "Kessler's facing charges. Harassment, maybe worse. Lila's out of job. Told you, patterns don't lie." Ethan read the message in a coffee shop, rain streaking the windows. He smiled, not out of spite, but because the world had a way of balancing itself. Lila's name was mud at Horizon, her reputation shredded. Ryan, once untouchable, was scrambling to salvage his own life. Ethan didn't care about their downfall. He cared about his own rise. By April, spring crept into Minneapolis, the snow melting into puddles that reflected the city's tentative bloom. Ethan was different now, quieter, sharper, like a blade honed by pain. He threw himself into work, landing a promotion at the ad agency. His colleagues noticed the change. The man who once blended into the background now commanded rooms with a calm intensity. He wasn't rebuilding the old Ethan. He was forging someone new. One Sunday, while grabbing coffee at a bustling cafe, he met her. Her name was Maya, a pediatric nurse with warm brown eyes and a laugh that felt like sunlight. She spilled her latte on his jacket, apologized profusely, and insisted on buying him a replacement. They talked for an hour, then 2. The conversation easy, unguarded. She didn't know his scars, and he didn't offer them. When she scribbled her number on a napkin, Ethan felt something he hadn't in years. Hope. He didn't call her right away. He wasn't ready for promises. Not yet. But when he saw her again, weeks later at the same cafe, her smile was just as bright, her eyes just as kind. They started meeting, casual walks by the lake, late-night diner runs, moments that felt like breathing after years underwater. Maya was different from Lila, not in grand gestures, but in small truths. The way she listened, the way she stayed. Ethan began to believe some people didn't lie. Some people built, brick by brick, the right way. One evening, as he drove home, the city lights glinting like stars, Ethan rolled down his window. The cool air hit his face, carrying the scent of rain and possibility. Behind him lay betrayal, loss, a life dismantled. Ahead was an open road, uncharted but his own. He didn't know where it led, but for the first time in months, he wanted to find out. Summer draped Minneapolis in a golden haze, the air thick with the hum of cicadas and the scent of blooming lilacs. Ethan Harper stood at the edge of a new chapter, his life no longer defined by the shadows of Lila's betrayal. His apartment, once a stark refuge, now held traces of warmth. A shelf of Nora's favorite books, Milo's soccer trophy, Evie's finger-painted art taped to the fridge. The kids were his anchor, their laughter a reminder that some bonds couldn't be broken. But beyond them, Ethan was discovering something else. Himself, rebuilt stronger, wiser, unafraid. His relationship with Maya grew quietly, like a seedling finding sunlight. They weren't rushing. Neither wanted to bruise the fragile trust they were cultivating. Walks along the Mississippi became dinners at cozy bistros, then weekends exploring farmers markets or binge-watching old sci-fi films. Maya's honesty was disarming. Her stories of long hospital shifts, her goofy impressions of her nephews, her unfiltered joy in small moments. When she reached for Ethan's hand, there was no hesitation, no hidden agenda. For the first time in years, Ethan felt seen, not as a husband or a father, but as a man worthy of love. At work, Ethan thrived. The promotion at the ad agency had unlocked a confidence he hadn't known he possessed. He pitched bold campaigns, led teams with steady clarity, and earned respect that felt earned, not borrowed. His colleagues no longer saw the quiet guy in the corner. They saw a leader tempered by fire. The extra income went to the kids, college funds, new bikes, a summer camp Nora begged to attend. Ethan didn't need much for himself. Freedom was wealth enough. Lila, meanwhile, faded into the consequences of her choices. After her suspension from Horizon Marketing became a permanent termination, she took a low-level admin job at a logistics firm. Her once vibrant ambition dulled. The whispers about her affair with Ryan Kessler clung like damp rot. Colleagues at her new job eyed her warily, sensing a story they didn't fully know. Ryan's fall was steeper. Charges of workplace harassment snowballed into a lawsuit from a former employee. His name now a cautionary tale in corporate circles. Lila tried reaching out to Ethan once, a tearful voicemail begging for a chance to make things right for the kids. He didn't respond. She made her bed. The kids deserved better than her chaos. Ethan ensured Nora, Milo, and Evie saw their mother, but under strict terms. Supervised visits at a community center were calm, structured, focused on the children. Lila was gentle with them, her smile strained but sincere, though Evie sometimes clung to Ethan when it was time to leave. He never spoke ill of Lila in front of them. She was their mother, and that was a truth he'd never tarnish. But he didn't soften the boundaries either. Trust, once shattered, didn't rebuild overnight. One August evening, Ethan and Maya sat on a blanket at Lake Harriet, watching the kids chase fireflies as the sun dipped low. Nora's giggles echoed, Milo's competitive shouts mixed with Evie's delighted squeals. Maya leaned against Ethan's shoulder, her warmth grounding him. "You're a good dad," she said softly. "They're lucky to have you." He looked at her, the twilight catching the flecks of gold in her eyes. "I'm lucky to have them," he said. "And you?" The words felt vulnerable but true. Maya smiled, squeezing his hand, and for a moment, the world was perfect. Months later, on a crisp October morning, Ethan stood in his apartment, packing a picnic for a day trip with Maya and the kids. His phone buzzed. A text from Grayson, the private investigator, whose number Ethan hadn't deleted. "Heard Lila's moving out of state. Fresh start, maybe. Thought you'd want to know." Ethan stared at the message, feeling a faint pang, not of pain, but of closure. Lila's choices were hers now, her path separate from his. He typed a quick thanks and set the phone down. As he loaded the picnic basket into the car, Nora bounded out, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "Can Maya come to my school play next week?" she asked, eyes hopeful. Ethan grinned. "If she's free, I bet she'd love to." Milo chimed in, tossing a soccer ball. She's cool, Dad. She doesn't even get mad when I steal her fries. Evie, tugging Ethan's sleeve, added, Maya makes the best hot cocoa. Ethan laughed, his heart full. Maya wasn't a replacement for Lila. She was something new, something real. Their future wasn't written, but Ethan no longer feared it. He'd faced betrayal, dismantled a life, and built a better one from the ashes. Whatever came next, he was ready. Driving toward the state park, the kids singing off-key in the back seat, Ethan glanced at the rearview mirror. Their faces, Nora's mischievous grin, Milo's focused frown, Evie's dreamy stare, were his why. He rolled down the window, letting the autumn breeze sweep through, carrying the scent of pine and promise. The road ahead curved gently, bathed in morning light, and Ethan pressed the gas. Behind him lay a story of lies and loss. Ahead was his, open, unbroken, and entirely his own.